Hello students. So in previous class we have seen scope of thermodynamics. There we have defined many terms uh, such as you can say what are the fundamental quantities, what are the derived quantities, and thereafter we see different definitions we have seen, different equations we have derived there, uh, which are required further again. And there we have studied different systems, or what is system, what is surrounding. Then we have seen processes, and now we are looking further again. Next is, you can say, state and properties. So here certain specifications such as, you can say, pressure, volume and temperature, these are necessary to define the condition of any system. Suppose if you take any reactor, so in this reactor, what is the temperature, what is the pressure, what is the volume of reactor? So these conditions or these specifications are necessary many times, and the condition defined by such specification is called as state of that system. That means you can say what is the state of reactor, you can say. So what is the temperature there, what is pressure there, uh, what is the volume of that particular fluid or fluid present in the system. So that we have to see here, and these variables we are using for defining the state, which are called as state functions, or you can say properties of that particular system, and these are necessary. uh, so then if you see, so these properties, if you see that minimum number of such variables are required to represent the state uniquely, depend on the number of phases constituting the system. Now we have to see the number of phases present in the system, and how many minimum number of such variables are required to represent the state of this particular system uniquely. So this is very important. So here uh, you can say these number of distinct chemical species present in the system, so that is very important. So generally these variables, you can say these are independent variables, you can call. These are generally defined as phase, by phase rule, right? We'll see this phase rule in coming slides. The properties generally used to represent the state of homogeneous system consisting of single system substance, are the pressure, the volume and the temperature. Now if you have homogeneous system and only one substance is there, right? So here generally the properties are defined, that is with the pressure, volume or temperature. So remember, these are very important. Or you can say uh, if any two properties are defined here, right? That means suppose pressure and volume is defined, so temperature you can get, right? Or you can say any one of these three property depends on other two, or they are interrelated here. That means pressure is defined or volume is defined, you can calculate temperature. Volume and temperature is defined, you can calculate pressure, right? So this is very important, right? Then if two properties, say pressure and temperatures, are satisfied, all other physical properties such as density, viscosity, refractive index, others also can be definitely calculated. So that can be fit or that can be decided here, right? So thus thermodynamic properties serves to define the state of the system completely. This, remember, this part is very important here. Then you must have studied this earlier also, intensive and extensive properties. Extensive properties, you can say that depends on temperature or extensive extent of matter which is present, right? So extensive properties, these are depending on the quantity of matter. So what you can say, mass depends on quantity of matter, volume depends on quantity of matter, right? So total value of this extensive property is sum of values of the properties of individual component. That might be possible. So if I add some, you can say 10 ml of water and another 10 ml of water, right? So total mass will be 10 plus 10, 20, right? So total volume is 10 plus 10, 20, 20 ml. But mass is also will increase proportionately. That depends on density of that particular system. That is again very important. But if you see the intensive property, that is independent of size of your system, such as pressure and temperature, right? These are very important parameters, and here these are only dependent on the system characteristics. That means it will not depend on mass, size of system. It is not like that, right? Similarly, you can say specific volume. It is also intensive property. But if you separate this volume and mass, what is specific volume? It is volume per unit mass. But if you separately see, volume and mass both are extensive properties. But if you combine this, so that becomes uh, intensive property. That means specific volume. That means per unit mass, what is the volume? Density, it is reciprocal of, you can say, specific volume. So here is also kg per unit volume or mass per unit volume, right? So this is again an intensive property, right? So you can say if you combine some extensive properties together, you can have intensive property at the end, right? So as we have discussed, specific volume is there, density is there, specific heat, that is also there, but heat capacity is extensive property here, right? But specific heat is intensive property. So this is very simple case, already you must have studied earlier, right? So here uh, again, if you see the second case, that is a path function. Path function is nothing but best two examples here, heat and work, right? It is it depends on path followed. That is very important. It will not depend on initial state and final state. That means, or it will not give the change by considering only the initial and final state. It is not possible. So work, that means if you take one path and another person takes another path, so work will be different there. So maybe second number path will be longer one, right? So amount of work might be higher there. Heat, that is again you can say path function. So you have studied this earlier. So next you can say steady state, right? Steady state, remember this is very important in chemical engineering, right? Always we are trying to get process at steady state, right? That means we are not expecting there is a drastic or sudden change in temperature or pressure. Other are different variables, right? So otherwise that will hamper the product quality, or consistency in product quality is very important, right? So that's why steady state, that part is very important, because always you are waiting for attaining the steady state or certain process that will attain a steady state, and then you can measure different parameters and calculation can be done, right? So here two cases are there. One is, you can say, steady state, and second one is equilibrium state, right? So these two are different, remember, right? So first you can say system which is interacting with surrounding, remember. uh, this this is said to attain steady state when properties at a specific location in the system do not vary with time, right? So this is very important, right? So consider, you can say, wall of furnace, right? Inside surface which is exposed to hot combustion gases, and outside surface of this furnace wall is exposed to atmospheric air. So outside temperature is, no doubt, it will be less, inside temperature is higher. So you can say there will be heat transfer takes place. That means transfer of heat is from higher temperature to lower temperature, right? So transfer of heat will take place from inside of furnace to outside, right? So that is what is happening here. And the temperature at specific location in wall varies with time, because there is a transfer of heat. Unsteady state condition is there, right? But if you wait for certain period, thereafter it will attain a steady state with respect to heat transfer. That means fixed quantity heat will be transferred from inner surface of, you can say, furnace wall to outer surface of furnace wall. So that will be fixed. Why it will be fixed? Because you can say they must have attained steady state. That means, you can say, outside temperature of that wall is that may be constant at particular location, and inside surface wall is also maintained at constant temperature. So at in this point you can say temperature remains constant and it will not vary with respect to time. That's why your heat transfer is attained steady state value, right? So that's why you can say this case is your steady state, right? Are you getting this? So however the temperatures at different point in the wall may be different, right? This is possible. I am considering initially for steady state calculation particular location here. Particular location, that means if I take a simple case here, so one point where temperature sensor is there, outside wall temperature also is measured by temperature sensor. So these are recorded here, but it doesn't mean that at other location of your reactor wall, or you can say furnace wall, temperature is same. It is not like that, so it may vary. So this case is different here. That means uh, you can say particular location it is a steady state, right? But at other cases you cannot say it is at that another location also there might be a steady state, remember. So temperature might be fixed, but that temperature is different from previous one. Temperature is different from previous one, right? So this case is different, and that is related to, you can say, equilibrium state here. So equilibrium state is nothing but, you can say, this is quite different from steady state. Steady state is for a particular location here, but here equilibrium state is for system, right? A system is said to be in a state of equilibrium if properties are uniform throughout, remember, and they do not vary with time. Steady state is for fixed location at particular point in a system where those properties are not changing with respect to time. But in equilibrium state, you can say properties are uniform throughout and they will not vary with respect to time, right? So this is very important. By properties we mean that properties on macroscopic scale, right? So do not exclude the probability of individual molecule having different values of property. It is not expected here, right? Every molecule, every particular location in the system will have a same property, and that will not change with respect to time, right? So simple case, this is you can call as equilibrium state, right? So otherwise you can say at microscopic transfer rate might be same. That means you can say in case of furnace, you can say temperature overall it is constant there, suppose, right? Heat is getting transferred from inside to outside, right? It might be there, heat loss might be there, right? And you can say every location in the system temperature is same there, right? Then you can say it is equilibrium state. But if you see only one point where temperature is constant with respect to time, but if you move at other point temperature is varying, so that is different case, that you cannot say as equilibrium state. That you can say steady state at particular location, right? So another example you can say thermal equilibrium. Thermal equilibrium, that means when no heat exchange occur between the various points, right, within the system, right? That means temperature is uniform throughout, right? So this case is, you can say, thermal equilibrium, right? So here temperature at every point in the system is constant, right? It will not change with respect to time also. So that is your thermal equilibrium. Another example you can say, if you see mechanical equilibrium, pressure is uniform, pressure is constant, right? So under, you can say, even under the condition of uniform temperature and pressure, transfer of mass may takes place. This is a very important aspect in chemical engineering, remember, right? At constant temperature and pressure reaction can occur, remember, because once it attains its activation energy reaction will start, right? That means polymerization, if you see temperature at 80 degrees Celsius polymerization start. So at constant temperature of, you can say, 80 degrees Celsius, polymerization will continue, right? Reaction may occur, right, between various components present in the system, right? So for this, we have another cases such as you can say chemical reaction equilibrium. That is very important topic we are going to study in this particular subject, right? Which has great chemical engineering application, right? And you can say here we are considering fundamentals of that, and phase equilibrium, that is another case, right? So that is also very important here. Phase equilibrium, that means you can say phase. What you can say phase? Phase is as discussed earlier. If you travel through the system, right, or travel to the one homogeneous mass, you will not find any drastic change in properties here, right? So that is nothing but you can say phase, such as vapor, or you can say steam. Steam properties are same. The pressure is same, temperature is same, and if you travel through that steam, everywhere you will get properties same. Water, it has same properties there. But if you have oil and water system, it is a heterogeneous kind of thing, right? So that means water properties are different, and at an interface between water and oil, there is a sudden or drastic change in properties you will observe for the case of oil. So this is very important, right? So it doesn't mean that at constant temperature and pressure nothing is happening. So it is possible, transfer of mass is possible here, right? Reactions are possible in the system, right? So of various phases, or you can say of that particular system, right? This is very important. Remember, third point, you have to be careful, and this has great application here in chemical engineering. So we have to go in depth for this in in coming units, right? So again, if you continue here in a system which is in a state of thermodynamic equilibrium, in addition to absence of heat and work exchange, there would be no mass transfer between the phases, no diffusion of mass within the phases, no chemical reaction between the constituents. So this is very important again, right? So absence of heat and work. That means, simple example, if I take, polymerization takes place at 80 degrees Celsius, or suppose if you have endothermic reaction which is occurring at 80 degrees Celsius, there is required to be continuous supply of heat, right? And then only your temperature will remain constant. Otherwise, in chemical reaction, it will absorb the energy, right, for chemical reaction. And as soon as it absorbs the energy, endo, right, so temperature of that reactor will drop down, right? So that's why there is there should have a continuous supply of energy, heat, right? And then only you can maintain temperature of that reactor constant, and then you can maintain that reaction there, right? But if you say thermodynamic equilibrium, in absence of heat and work, nothing is possible. You cannot carry out the reaction, right? Remember. Then next you can say a state of equilibrium implies therefore a state of rest. That means it is simple. That means nothing is happening at equilibrium, right? Uh, since all such changes are caused by driving forces of same kind, right? The state of equilibrium may also be treated as one of which all forces are in exact balance. That means you can say, what are the driving forces here? Number one, for heat transfer we should have temperature difference. If there is no temperature difference, how can say? Both are, no doubt, these are in equilibrium state, but there is no heat transfer, right? Or if you see mechanical equilibrium, pressure of both the phases or both container is same, right? Both container are those are maintained at the same pressure, and those are connected with pipeline. There will not be flow. No flow will be taking place. Mass transfer will not be there. Mass flow will not be there, right? Because they are in mechanical equilibrium, right? So they are in exact balance. And third, you can say pressure difference हो गया, temperature difference, or concentration difference. Concentration difference where mass transfer is depending on this particular different driving force, right? So there will not be mass transfer if concentration difference is maintained zero there, right? So this is what we have. So that's why state of equilibrium is very important, right? So next you can say the state of equilibrium will be retained by the system after any small but short mechanical disturbance in the external condition. This is possible sometimes, right? If uh, suppose small disturbance in one system is there, that means suppose temperature of both the object is same, maintained at 100 degrees centigrade, and both objects are close together by separated by some distance, and one object is disturbed with small change. That means what small change will be there? I'll put one drop of water on that object. So what will happen? There will be sudden change in temperature, or sudden you can say a small disturbance you will get in that particular object. But what will happen? So that will be quickly maintained, right? By transferring small amount of heat from another object to this object, and it will be maintained. Temperature of both the object will be same there. So this is very important here. So that is, you can say, equilibrium state. Now very important case is phase rule. Remember phase rule what we have studied from 12th standard. So this is required till your final year also, right? In final year also we require this degrees of freedom in computational chemical engineering subject, where mathematical modeling we are doing for different, we're doing for chemical processes, right? So here the state of pure homogeneous fluid is fixed whenever two intensive thermodynamic properties are set at a specific value. Remember, we have pure homogeneous fluid, one phase, pure component, one component. Then we need to define uh, its state by two intensive thermodynamic properties, right? For example, you can say steam, right? Steam is at 100 degrees Celsius, right? Uh, okay, sorry. In this case, we need two intensive state, right? That definition. In contrast, when there are two phases of same pure species in equilibrium, such as steam and water, right? The state of the system is fixed, and only a single property is defined, right? Correct. So in this case, when we have only one component, only one phase, two intensive parameters, two intensive thermodynamic properties are required to define. But when we have only one component but two phases, such as water and steam, both are water, that means both are H2O, same component, but both are in two phases. The single component is in two phases. One phase is your water, and second is, that is liquid, and second is vapor. So, but both these phases are in equilibrium, that has to be remembered. And then only one parameter is required to define this particular case, right? So just example, you can say uh, steam, right, or generation of steam at equilibrium is possible at 101.33 kilopascal. That's it. That is 1 atmosphere, suppose. When we are saying generation of steam at equilibrium is carried out at 1 atmosphere, that means you can say it has to be 100 degrees Celsius, because water boils at only at 100 degrees Celsius at 1 atmosphere. And if you change the pressure, then and then only your boiling point will change, right? Remember. So that's why it doesn't mean that doesn't need to define both the parameters. That means water boils at 100 degrees Celsius and 1 atmosphere. There is no need. Only one thing is, one definition is okay here. That means if you define water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, that means it is assumed that pressure is 1 atmosphere. But if you have only one component and one phase, such as only water is present, two intensive parameters are required here. Remember, temperature as well as pressure, or you can say temperature, volume, or that others we have to see, right? But two intensive properties are required, right? And one more thing, that is it is impossible to change temperature without also changing the pressure. If equilibrium between vapor and liquid phases is to be maintained, these two are in connection, remember. If you change the temperature, pressure will change. That's why I'm saying water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. That means pressure has to be 1 atmosphere, right? If you change pressure, boiling point also change, or if you change the boiling point, pressure has to be changed. These are dependent there, right? So this is what you can say phase rule. It is a preliminary that's primary explanation for this. And if you continue this, now we have multi-phase system at equilibrium. Equilibrium already we have defined earlier. Multi-phase means number of phases. What are the phases here? Solid, you can say, or state, you can say liquid, water, right? Steam is there, ice is there. Simple, what you have studied. That means solid, liquid, gas, right? And there are liquid also. That means organic layer. That means oil and water, right? So that means any parameter like liquid, organic liquid, aqueous liquid, right? That is water, vapor, solid phase, solid compound. So these are called as, you can say, phases here. Even solid also, different phases are present, right? It is not necessary that only one phase is present in solid, right? So in many cases it is a multi-phase, right? But phase already we have defined. In that particular phase there is a no change in a property, that is the phase. And if you observe, there is a drastic change in property if you travel through that particular substance, right? So that is the multi-phase, right? And here we are considering multi-phase system at equilibrium. So here you can say number of independent variable that must be arbitrarily fixed to establish the intensive state is called as degrees of freedom of that particular system, right? Earlier we have seen. That means what is that? In simple meaning, it is that it is the difference between number of variables, phase rule variables, and number of equations. It is simple difference here, right? This is a very important equation. Remember, at every point in chemical engineering we require this number of phase rule variables minus number of equations, right? So whatever you are getting this difference, that is degrees of freedom, and these many parameters we must define or fix. We have to fix that, right, to establish the intensive state, right? That is very intensive state of that particular system, right? And these many parameters are nothing but your degrees of freedom. It is defined by Will Gibbs, right? And so simple equation what they have given, that is F is equal to 2 minus pi plus n, where F is number of degrees of freedom, pi is number of phases, and n is number of chemical species present in the system. So this is analogous to phase rule what we have studied in 12th, where n is replaced by c, that is components, and pi is replaced by p, that is phases. It is same thing here, right? This particular equation is obtained by this difference here, that is F is equal to, how can derive this equation? You must have studied this directly, that is F is equal to 2 minus P plus C, or here F is equal to 2 minus pi plus N. How we got this equation? From where we get this equation? This is very important, right? So what is the derivation for this, right? So this equation is obtained by starting equation, that is degrees of freedom is equal to number of phase rule variables minus number of equations. Very simple. Here, if you are solving any mathematical problem, if you are finding x and y, these are the two variables. We need two equations for that. That is 2x plus 3y is equal to something, or x plus y is equal to something. So these two equations can be solved simultaneously, and you can get uh, answer, that is x and y. But if we have x, y, z and only two equations, this is not possible to solve. You cannot get x, y, z quickly, right? So here that difference, that means number of variables are what, x, y, z, right? And number of equations, suppose 2, right? 2 variables minus, sorry, 3 variables x, y, z, and minus 2 equations. as though 3 minus 2 is 1. 1 is the degree of freedom, right? So that's why it requires, that means one more equation is required here, right? So always remember, for solving any problem, degrees of freedom has to be equal to 0, right? Then and then, that means number of equations and number of phase rule variables or variables, that has to be same. Then and then only you can get the solution of that particular system. So here, if you see, number of the equation already we have defined, that is f is equal to 2 minus pi plus n, right? So how we this is obtained? By this equation, that is number of phase rule variables minus number of equations. So how can calculate number of phase rule variables here? This part, right? So here, so if you see number of phase rule variables here, right? Sorry, this is the equation, and number of phase rule variables are this. Now in this 2 is what? This 2 is, you can say, uh, this is temperature and pressure, two variables, right? Temperature and pressure, that is 2. Here it is mentioned here, 2, right? And n minus 1 are the mole fractions. You know that, suppose system is binary, that means two components are there, and if you know that, if you say that 20% is the first component, automatically you can say 80% is other component, right? And if you have three component system, then what you have, you can say first one is 20, second one is 30, right? Last, there is no need to calculate, that means it is automatically 50%, right? That's why if we have n number of components here, n number of components, so in that case n minus 1 mole fractions or n minus 1 variables are sufficient to define that particular system. Baki jo, last one you can calculate by summation, right? So there is no need to consider that part here, right? So here, so finally if you see, total number of phase rule variables are 2 plus bracket n minus 1 into pi y, that is how many phases are there? N minus 1, that means maybe liquid phase composition and vapor phase composition or solid phase composition, right? And multiple components might be in liquid phase, same will be in vapor phase. That is possible here, right? So that's why n minus 1 multiply by number of phases. So these many mole fractions are there, and plus 2, that is temperature and pressure. These are the number of phase rule variables, right? And number of equations, that means relation between different phase, right, phases, that is pi minus 1. That means suppose if you have liquid and vapor and liquid, right? So in this case you can relate composition, that means vapor phase composition with liquid phase composition. That means you can say y1 is a vapor phase composition, right? Y1 is a vapor phase composition for first component, and x1 is a vapor phase composition, liquid phase composition for first component, because that component has to be in both the phases, right? As well, it may be in vapor phase, it may be in liquid phase, right? So what is the relation between these two, y1 and x1, right? So similarly we have y1, y2, y3, yn, right? Similarly we have x1, x2, x3 up to xn, right? So how many variables? Here we have n, here also we have n. But if we have all relation, that means y1 and x1, y2 and x2, y3 and x3, like that, you can do this. So if we have multiple phases, only two phases are there, I can get y1 here, so automatically by relation I can get x1, right? So there is no need to write separate equation for this, right? So if we have three phases here, right, then pi minus 1, that means we have to define two equations. That means you can say between first phase and second phase, and first phase and third phase. So automatically the third and second will come into picture, right? So that's why this pi minus 1 is there. Pi minus 1 is there here. If you see here, this is pi minus 1. and this is multiplied by number of components present. So this is nothing but your total number of equations in this system, right? And if you take a simple difference here by this rule, that is number of phase rule variables minus number of equations, you will get this equation here. And if you solve this, you will have f is equal to 2 minus pi plus n. So this is very simple equation you will get. This is by phase rule, right? So this is very important, remember. So this will be useful in future, right? uh, because what I have said, even in mathematics also we are trying to have same equations and same number of variables, then and then only you will get real solution there. uh, then if again go further in chemical engineering, that is process modeling and simulation, that is you can say computational chemical engineering, there also we have degrees of freedom concept, right? Because for any chemical engineering equipment, we have to calculate, you have to model means you have to define that equipment with the use of equations, right? So you will get number of independent equations there and number of independent variable, and if we have a difference there between these two, that will be degrees of freedom. And then we have to see that value, right? If it has to be zero, and if it is not zero, then we have to define some more equations there so as to get degrees of freedom equal to 0, and then you can solve that. This is what we have. And again, if you continue this, intensive state of the system at equilibrium is established when its temperature and pressure and compositions of all phases are fixed, right? Then it is equilibrium. Temperature, pressure, two variables, and composition, that is you can say n minus 1 into pi. These many variables has to be fixed, right? These are the variables of phase rules, which are called as, right? And but they are all not all independent. Many times it happens because temperature, pressure, you can say if you change the temperature, pressure might change or something like that, right? The phase rule gives the number of variables from this set that must be fixed, specified to fix all remaining intensive variables, and thus intensive state of that particular system that you will get at the right. uh, as discussed earlier, uh, phase is nothing but your homogeneous region of matter. Homogeneous region, that means uh, no property change you will get there, right? So you will get uniform property at every location in that particular region, right? So that's why this is, you can say, homogeneous region, right? So but or you can say gas or mixture of gas, right? Or liquid of liquid solutions, that means if you add sugar in water, that is liquid solutions, that is again homogeneous, right? So this is also homogeneous. Crystalline solid such as sugar crystals, right? So that is also example of phase, right? An abrupt change in properties always occur at a boundary between the phases, right? So in this case, suppose if I say here, this is the container and this is the interface between, this is here vapor, and here we have liquid, right? Here at this particular boundary you will observe drastic change in properties here. So this particular part you can consider as a phase, as a vapor phase, and this is another part that is also a liquid phase. Both are homogeneous here, both are homogeneous, right? But if you consider this entire section here, that is your heterogeneous system, right? So various phases can coexist, that is possible, the vapor liquid or liquid liquid, right? Organic phase and aqueous phase, right? But they must be in equilibrium for phase rule to apply. That is very important, right? Uh, okay, so that is also there. Now in chemical engineering, one more important example, right? If you spray the water in air, what will happen? some droplets will be there in flow of air, right? That means air is continuous form. Air is in continuous form. That means there is and droplets are in dispersed form. Dispersed, that means one droplet here, another droplet there, right? So like that, that will be, it is in dispersed form. That means as a droplet, right? So here phase rule need not be continuous. Example of discontinuous phases are gas dispose as a bubble, or you can say you can sparge gas in liquid. So liquid will be continuous, and bubbles form, that will be in disperse phase, right? Or liquid disperse as a droplet in another liquid, right? That means if you add oil in water and stir that, so oil droplets you will observe. So oil is in disperse phase, water is in continuous phase, right? So in each case disperse phase is distributed throughout the continuous phase, no doubt, that has to be. So intensive variables are independent of size of matter, of and the individual phases. This is very important. Already we have discussed this. Thus, phase rule gives some information for large system, right? As for the smaller one, right? That means if you do this for a smaller one, that means specific volume has to be same. There is no change. If you get at smaller volume, it is applicable for larger volume, right? Moreover, you can say the phase rule applies only to individual phase composition and not to overall composition of multi-phase system, right? And note that for a phase of n component, right, n minus 1 compositions are independent. That is very important, right? Final composition is directly calculated by summation, that is summation of xi or summation of yi. You have studied summation of xi is equal to 1, summation of yi is equal to 1, right? Because mole or mass fraction of phase must sum to unity, that is summation of, you can say, xi, that is equal to 1, right? This indicates here. This is very important. Okay, so this you can say related to phase rule what we are doing. So this is what and if you see f is equal to 1, f is equal to 1, that means f is equal to 1, that means you can say uh, this is univariant, one change you will get, right? Or f is equal to 2, that means divariant, that is also possible here, right? So this you will get. This is all related to, you can say, phase rule. Now come to another aspect of this chemical engineering thermodynamics, that is internal energy. Internal energy is very important because this is again state variable. Many times it is used for calculations, right? Such as you must have studied enthalpy definition. H is equal to, that is H is equal to U plus PV. You must have seen this. Out of this, U here is the internal energy, right? So the Joule has carried one experiment here. What he has done, uh, he has taken one closed container, insulated container, right? In that water is added or some liquid is added, and some mechanical agitation he has done. That means he has done some work on that liquid, and then he has found that there is a rise in temperature of fluid is observed, right? Okay, that means there is a release of heat. What we have added work is converted, and this is released as a heat in the system, right? And because of that, that temperature of that system is changed, it is increased, right? But what happens in this particular case? You are doing work initially on a molecule or a substance, and then it is released as a heat. It is released as heat. In between energy, where it is stored, right? Are you getting this? That means before release as a heat, where it was, right? Are you getting this? So this is very important here. Okay. So in this case, it is, that means the in between energy, that means where it is stored, and it is stored as a what, right? In what form? So that is called as internal energy, right? Okay, that means we are doing some work, that work, that means some energy is there, it is stored as an internal energy in a substance, in a fluid, and then it is released as a heat, right? So internal energy of substance does not include energy that it may possess as a result of gross position or movement of as a whole. It is not like that. That means it is, if there is a movement, it is kinetic energy, or if there is gross position change, it is potential energy, right? But it is referred to the molecular level here. It is referred to molecular level. So that is very important here. So molecular level change is very important, right? So here, whatever work is done, it is stored at molecular level in the substance, and then it is released as a, and then molecules attract or repel one another. Potential energy stored through these interaction, right? Just as potential energy of configuration, right, stored in a compressed or stretched, it is just like stretched spring. This is an example, right? If you compress this spring, so it is like that. Anyway, so again, if you continue further, at submolecular level, if you see, energy is associated with the interaction between the electrons and nuclei of the atom, which includes energy of chemical bonds that holds atom together as a molecule. This is at sub molecular scale, right? So this energy is named as internal, right? This is different from, you can say, conventional kinetic and potential energy, right? At microscopic position, right? Uh, so internal energy has no concise thermodynamic definition here, right? So it cannot be directly measured, but you can change, you can get the change in internal energy, right? So this is what we have. So always you can get the value of change in internal energy, and many times it is required, so there is no disadvantage at all related to internal energy calculation, right? Always we are looking for delta U, right? So this is very important, okay? And in what form or how internal energy is stored at molecular level is immaterial, right? Then okay, so this is all about internal energy, and I'll end this second lecture here. uh, this is a complete picture of, you can say, scope of thermodynamics, right? So very soon I will upload third lecture. Thank you. If you have queries, we'll solve those in interactive session at the, I think it will be scheduled after unit number 1. Okay, thank you.